It's good at a brew, baby. What is up, YouTube? It's your boy, Millsy, back with Hometown Commander, back for another episode of $50 Upgrades, the show where I take a Precon and give you my suggested $50 upgrades for it. Today, we're celebrating the release of Aetherdrift this week, so it's only right to cover the Aetherdrift Precon. So today, we're taking a look at Living Energy, the Teamer Energy Precon headed up by Saheeli, Radiant Creator. A 4-mana human artificer that says whenever we cast an artificer or artifact spell, we're going to get an energy counter. Beginning combat on our turn, we can pay 3 energy. If we do, we make a token that's a copy of any permanent we control, except it's a 5/5 artifact creature with haste, and then it has to be sacrificed at the beginning of the next end step. Saheeli's a very interesting deck, caring about energy, caring about copy things. This is a really interesting ability. We saw something very similar to it in some ways in Satya, the Jeskai energy commander that came out from Outer Horizons 3. But Saheeli's a little bit different because it's in Teamer, gives us some different options, and cares a little bit more about those artificers that were very popular in Kaladesh, now Avishkar, the previous time we were there. So $50 upgrades are going to focus on getting more consistency. The deck list is going to be down in the description for the full completed deck, as well as a list of every card I added and removed in the description to make it easier for you. The goal is consistency, better things to copy, better ways to make energy. So let's get into it. I'm going to go through all the cards I added one by one, and then we'll kind of fly over the cards I removed and talk about what I think is important to talk about. First, we'll talk about Aether Refinery. This card came out in that Modern Horizons 3 Precon with Satya. And it's a card, 6 mana. It says if we would get 1 or more energy, we get twice that many energy instead. And we could pay, says we get an energy, then we could pay 1 or more energy. If we do, we make a black Aetherborn creature token where X is the amount of energy paid this way. My philosophy here is it's a thing that's going to double up the amount of energy we're getting every time we get energy, and our deck has a lot of ways to give us energy, so that's very important. It can also make us creatures. The truth here is I think the Aether Refinery is a very interesting thing to copy as well with Saheeli, right? You could turn it into a creature, tap it, right, which will make, it's going to attack, right? And then if we have other things that turn that we want to play to get energy, we can get more, actually quadruple it, right? Because of Aether Refinery, right? So not a bad way to just make sure we're really stacking up our energy and keeping our energy reserve high so we can do different things with it. Aether Spike says we're going to choose target spell, we can get 2 energy. Then we can pay any amount of energy we get to counter that spell unless its controller pays 1 for each energy paid. A great counter spell, and we should almost always have enough energy sitting around so we can make sure that the key spell at the right time is going to get countered. Aurora Shifter is kind of interesting. When it deals damage to a player, we get that much energy. But at the beginning of our combat of our turn, we get pay 2 energy. If we do, it becomes a copy of another creature we control, except it has this ability, and whenever this creature does combat damage to a player, you get that much energy. There's a way to manipulate this so that you can have Saheeli go off first, make a copy of something, and then have Aurora Shifter become a copy of that if you want to. There's a lot of interactions with Aurora Shifter, and I just think a lot of the times it's going to come down to what do you have on board, what do you want that second copy of that isn't legendary to just take advantage of more and more value. Brudiclad's going to look odd because all of our tokens are going to go away at the turn that they're made. But the truth is we have a lot of things in the deck that can make Thopters and can make other artifact tokens. So Brudiclad is a great way to take all your tokens and make them into a token you want. It says at the beginning of combat on your turn, we can make a 2/1 Phyrexian Mirror artifact creature token. Then choose a token we control. If you do, each other token you control becomes a copy of that token. The interaction I'm specifically looking for in Brudiclad is that Saheeli could go ahead and make the token copy of something. You could actually turn all your Thopters into that if you want to, and then you would only lose the one you made that turn. But you could net a ton of really interesting things. The truth is, the possibilities of Brudiclad are endless. It just comes down to fitting it out in the right scenario. Otherwise, you can just make all your mirrors into 1/1 Thopters, and then they're able to attack and potentially hurt your opponent in the air. The truth is, there's a lot of things with Brudiclad that you can do, but I think it fits what we're trying to do well. Desynchronization is a really interesting card. You can return each non-land permanent that's not historic to its owner's hand. So artifacts, legendaries, and sagas. Well, a lot of our things are artifacts, so we're going to cover that. And Saheeli's legendary, so most of our key things are not going to get bounced with desynchronization. And in fact, we might not even mind if they are, because we can recast them, right, and get energy off of Saheeli. But the truth is, we're hoping to make desynchronization as one-sided as we can, hurting us the least and hurting our opponents the most. But it's a great bounce spell for that. Man, Esoteric Duplicator is a really fun one. Whenever we sacrifice it or another artifact, we can pay 2. If we do, beginning of the next end step, we'll make a copy of that artifact. The fun thing is that remember that Saheeli, whenever it makes the copy of that thing, makes it an artifact. Meaning that for 2 mana, we can just get another copy of that thing that we already copied, which feels pretty cool. And then for 2 mana, we can sacrifice Esoteric Duplicator to draw a card. There is also a world where if we make a copy of Esoteric Duplicator, we could make 2 copies of it, right, with 4 mana because of their triggered abilities. But just an interesting card, and I think will help when we go to copy the right things. One that I think would be great to use Esoteric Duplicator on is Gonti's Aether Heart, a 6 mana legendary artifact that whenever it or another artifact comes in, we get 2 energy. And we could pay 8 mana to exile Gonti. I guess we wouldn't sacrifice it, so never mind. To take an extra turn after this one. This is a really interesting card because it can give us an extra turn at the right time, allowing us to maybe take a big turn where we get a bunch of energy and then loop it into another turn where we could, use our pieces. Again, very difficult to get multiple copies of it, mainly because it's legendary, right? So it was probably one of those things we're going to use at the right time, but I think when we use it at the right time, it's really useful. Also, remember, it's just netting us 2 energy every time another artifact comes in. So every time Saheeli copies something, you're getting 2 energy back, what you paid to copy it, right? Or more or less what you paid to copy it. So you can see why just Gonti itself, as Aether Heart, just makes a ton of sense, even if you don't use its bottom ability. Idol of Oblivion lets us tap to draw a card as long as we've made a token this turn. Well, it's ideally going to happen every turn with Saheeli, so this is just going to lead to extra card draw every turn. And for 8 mana, we can make a big Eldrazi token if we want to. We've got another energy adder in Izzet Generatorium. So if we could pay, if we would get 1 or more energy, we get that much +1 instead. And we can tap it to draw a card as long as we've paid or lost 4 or more energy this turn. Well, Saheeli is 3, correct? So we are going to automatically pay 3 every turn with Saheeli because we want to use its ability. As long as we've paid 1 or more other energy, we just get to draw a card every turn with the Generatorium, and and get that extra energy every time we do something. Rust of Inspiration lets us draw 2 and then discard a card at random unless we pay 2 energy, and it is a red blue tap land on the backside. So could be a draw spell, could also be another land, right? A great uncommon that I think plays a very interesting role. One of the things I'm looking to copy, so one of the artifacts we're adding in because it could be fun to copy, and the deck has a few of them as well, but we're just adding another one, is Threefold Thunderhulk from Lost Caverns of Ixalan. It's a 7 mana 0/0 that comes in with 3 counters on it. And whenever it enters the battlefield or attacks, we get to make a number of gnome tokens equal to its power. So how this is going to work with Saheeli is Saheeli makes a copy of it that's a 5/5. So it comes in with 3 counters on it and immediately makes us 8 gnomes when it comes straight up, just when it comes in. This is really useful in an interaction with something like Brudiclad, because Brudiclad could then still make the mirror and turn all those gnomes into something else. There's a lot of interactions that go on with some of the intricate parts of the deck. But the point is, Thunderhulk comes in as an 8/8, makes 8 gnomes, does its damage, sacrifices at the end, and then you can do this all over again. Not only that, but Thunderhulk itself, the real one, can sacrifice those gnomes to put counters on itself or anything else. I just like it. I mean, it's a big 7 mana investment, but it's going to make you a ton of 1/1 gnomes that you can do so many things with. We're not really playing into sacrificing them at all, but you could sack them for mana with things. You could tap them for Convoke. You could improvise spells with them. There's a lot of things you can do with those gnomes. Also, there's artifact creatures, so they can be used in other ways. I think it's an interesting card, and there's a lot of value there if you can get up to it. But probably one of the best known faces for artifact decks, we're adding in an Urza Lord High Artificer, a 4 mana 1/4 that says when it enters, we get to make a construct that gets +1/+1 for each artifact we control. That construct is going to get big. It's going to be big, and we're going to try to get multiple of them if we can. We can untap artifacts to add a blue mana. Again, works great with Thunderhulk beside it, but a lot of things in our deck. And then we could pay 5, shuffle our library, and exile the top card, and we could play that card for free this turn. Urza's going to add a lot of value, right? Tapping for mana, having its fun ability on the bottom. But I think my favorite interaction for Urza is, one, it's an Artificer, so it's going to get us mana off of Saheeli. But two, if we copy Urza with Saheeli, it's going to come in and give us the construct, and then we could always keep the original, and we still get the construct out of the energy. And that may seem like an odd interaction to you until you realize that construct gets bigger for each artifact we control. And if we have a lot of artifacts, I think paying 3 energy for a 10/10 or a 9/9 is well worth the mana, even if it can't attack this turn. This, again, I know, also leads to the fun of Brudiclad turning all of your artifact tokens into constructs that are going to be massive. So there's also, again, just this other interaction that we're baking into the deck. We're adding Whir of Invention. That's the special guest printing that just got released in Aetherdrift, but there's some other printings as well. It has Improvise, so we can tap artifacts to pay for 1 cost into the spell. We can search our library for an artifact card with mana value X or less and put it onto the battlefield. So many great targets for Whir of Invention in this deck. And again, we're happy to do it because we can get some key artifacts out to really help us build our board state. And then I really like Worldwalker Helm. 3 mana artifact says whenever we would make 1 or more artifact tokens, we make those tokens plus a map. So every time Saheeli goes off, we're going to make a map. Map lets you pay 1, sack it to give a creature the ability to explore. And when it explores, you're going to look at the top card of your library. If it's a land, it goes into your hand. If it's a non-land card, you get to put a counter on that creature that explored, and then you get your choice. You can either put it back on top of the library, or you can put it in your graveyard. But the point is, exploring isn't a bad mechanic, and you're also just making more artifact tokens for the purposes of other cards that are in the deck. And then for 2 mana, you just make a token that's a copy of a creature token you control. Then that's a great ability as well, because for the purposes of Saheeli's tokens that they make, that should, if I recall correctly, get around the force need to sacrifice. So you could actually get around... you could actually make a copy and keep it around. The original one from Saheeli's effect would exile or sacrifice at the end step. But this could also just copy you other things. I mean, the point is we're just trying to create this synergy between the things that we're trying to do. As far as removals go, there's a lot of cards I really like, but I cut just for better options. I really like the Aether, these giant Aether creatures that when they come in, get you a ton of energy. If you think about it, both of them more than replace their own costs of energy, copying with Saheeli. But the truth is, I think the deck probably does better when you look at things like Triplicate Titan that's already in the deck, or some of these other big artifact creatures that you can copy and just get huge value. I like the Battlewagon. I think it's an interesting vehicle. I could tap for energy, which is actually not a bad idea. And then for some more, energy, you can do different things. But the truth is, I think there's other ways to get more energy, and there's other things that can double and interact with the amount of energy we're getting. And I think they make a little bit more sense to me than the Battlewagon, although that I really like the Battlewagon. I think the one on this page that people are going to question is the Gearhulk in the middle. I like Combustible Gearhulk, but the truth is, I think there was other better creatures to copy, even though I really like the Gearhulk. And at the end of the day, this $50 upgrade isn't perfect. You may go into testing and realize you really like the Gearhulk, and the Gearhulk should come back in. Bring it back in. Find a card that you don't like as much, bring it back in. Voila. This is just what I had to do, right, to fit the cards that I wanted to fit in. I like the Caravan tapping for a mana. It's okay. I think the card that's going to get me the most eyes down in the comments is cutting Elder Gargaroth. It's a great creature. I really like it. I like that when it comes in and attacks, you immediately get its ability return. I really like it. I just don't think it fits the deck. I think there's better things that we can copy. In fact, if you're going to add more money, there's even better artifact creatures that you can add in to copy. But we had to cut something, and to me, all the rest of the creatures in the deck made a little bit more, sense than the Gargaroth. Although I love Elder Gargaroth, and it's great in so many other decks. I like the Aether Hood. I'll be honest, it took me a while to have this be this is the last card I cut, and it took me a bit to get to cutting the Aether Hood. But the truth is, as much as I like the Aether Hood, it's one of those cards where it made me wonder if finding better creatures to copy made more sense for the deck, because it kind of feels like the thing that Saheeli's trying to do. And so that's where I went with it. Although I still think the Aether Hood makes a ton of sense. It gets you a bunch of energy equal to its power that gets better each turn because you're putting counters on it. Again, I think all the mechanics of a card that makes sense in Saheeli's deck are there. It kind of made me wonder, is it worth it going after a better artifact creature that's going to put more value on the board? Unless truly we don't have enough ways to get energy, and then maybe the hood comes back in as a way to do that. I went back and forth too much on it, and that was kind of one of my reasons I knew I needed to cut it. And then just cutting one land in the Talisman. I think we have plenty of other ramp in the deck. I don't know that we need the Talisman. The Talisman isn't a bad thing to have. Mana Rocks aren't a bad thing to have. It just was my thing that I thought we could cut for some more draw, some more other value. Well, let's get into playtest number 1. I mean, the goal of playtests on the channel is not to find magical Christmas land. It's not to see what the best thing that our deck can do. It's to play some hands, understand how our deck functions, and how we're looking to set our deck up and do our game plan. Here we're keeping a 2-lander with Soul Ring, Arcane Signet, Commander Sphere, and Chromatic Lantern. A very mana rock heavy hand, and not a bad way to start the game. This, unfortunately, is going to do the dreaded turn 1 Soul Ring into Arcane Signet play that everybody loves to hate, but the truth is it's going to set us up with a lot of mana and keep us going here in turn 2. The Tango Parole Pridge has to come and tap. That's okay. We still have 4 mana, and there's a lot of things we can do with it. I kind of like the idea of something like the Transformer and the Generatorium. If we do the Commander Sphere or the Lantern, we can actually still get the Transformer down if we want to do that. So we could, Lantern plus Transformer. The Transformer gives us 3 energy, so I'm just going to put it over here so we can see how much energy we have. Comes in and nets us 3 energy, and we can pay an energy for mana of any color. But now we're great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 mana. Remember, we have to pay energy into the Transformer to make it give us more value than that. But I think we will probably end up doing it here just because, well, we do 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't think we'll need to, because my thought here was casting the Architect of the Untamed. Whenever a land comes in, we get to have an energy. But that is an Artificer, so we're going to get another energy. Start of our turn, we could, comment of our turn, we could copy one of these guys into a 5/5 if we want to. Kind of wonders if we should just keep the energy around, because I don't think that we have much we're going to do with it, and I just feel like we're just going to end up negging some energy. Like, if I had the Sphere down, I could do it and then sack it, right, to draw a card, right? I would still come up that way. I guess that is an option. I could have played the Commander Sphere instead of the Chromatic Lantern. And then maybe I pay the 3 energy to make a copy of the Sphere and then sacrifice itself to draw. Maybe, right? Maybe that makes sense. I'm not entirely sure. I think there's probably a discussion either way. Let's do it for the sake of the playtest. Let's say that I pay 3 to make a copy of the Commander Sphere, I attack with it, and then, before the end step, just go ahead and sack it to draw a card. That feels like a great way to use 3 energy if we need to, right, to draw some cards, right, potentially. Turn 4, we missed another real way to get some energy, although we do have I have to remember that when we cast artifacts, we get energy, right? So we'll play the Generatorium, get an energy. Play the Chromatic Lantern, get an energy. The energy, 1 energy from Generatorium being played. When I play Chromatic Lantern, I'll get 2 because it's Generatorium, right? So now, right, we have enough energy to do our thing. That's 1, 2 for the Generatorium, 1, 2, 3. So we've got 1, 2 mana left, 3 with the Transformer, and we can pay 1 to make it colored, and then the Generatorium. I don't think we'll be able to pay enough energy into it to let it draw us a card this turn, but that's okay. So I said, what? 3 left? I think we do the same thing we did last turn. Make a copy of the Commander Sphere. And then sack it right before the end of turn to draw a card. Again, it feels like not a bad loop, especially as we're trying to, get our stuff set up and figure ourselves out. We draw the Desynchronization, which is actually not terrible at our board right now. The only thing that we're going to have that's bounced is the Architect, which I don't think we really care. We can always replay it. If it hurts our opponents, we definitely do it. But we play the Polluted Forest. This is going to give us an energy with the Architects. It's actually going to give us 2 because of the Generatorium. If desync helps us, I think it's worth doing this turn. Maybe people have set up. We can get some things in. We've got 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 mana. So we can do the Generatorium. And if we did bounce we can do the Desynchronization. And if we bounce the Untamed, we could still replay the Untamed, right? I think I would probably do that. Bounce everything. replay the Untamed, we get a couple more energy, right, because of the Generatorium, and Saheeli getting one off the cast. Instead of 7 mana, I think we just have 2 left. But here, now, right, you know, great way to just do this, and I think I just make another copy of the Commander Sphere, and then, you know, do the same thing. Sack and draw, just trying to get, you know, draw authority tickets of value. We have these 5/5s that are attacking in return. Remember, Saheeli can attack as well if she's got good attacks for it. Well, Panharmonicon's great when we start talking about things that make energy when they come in, which we do have a bunch of creatures that do that. If I go Gonti, here's my thought. If I go Gonti, I'm getting 2 energy from the Spire of Industry, 2 energy from casting Gonti because of the Generatorium. It says whenever it or another artifact comes in, I get 2 more. So just for now, right, with the Gonti out, and the Generatorium out, I'm remaking all the energy I paid to copy something with Saheeli, right? So this is great because now I can freely do it, and I'm not too worried about it. 4 mana left, so we could do something like the Vegetation to ramp up this turn. And remember, we end up netting some energy with the with our Artificer because it's on landfall. Right, so that nets us 4 more energy. Again, here I think it makes sense to go down to 7, right? Make a copy of the sphere, go back up to 10. You know, attack, discard, you know, or pitch to destroy it to draw a card. And now, again, I feel like we have great pieces. It's just finding that next thing to like really hurt our opponents, right? The Generatorium, unfortunately, we're just paying 1 energy off, allowing it to draw some cards. I guess technically, right, Saheeli plus the Transformer, I guess, could have technically allowed us to be drawing every turn. So we probably missed that. But that's why this is important, to get these board states and, you know, and learn what we're doing as far as our interactions so we know what to do. Let's go into playtest number 2, keeping a 1, 2, 3 lander with that Solar Transformer. Lightning Rod, a really interesting creature. Whenever it attacks, we get 2 energy, and then we can pay 8. If we do, we get another combat. So we have enough way to gain energies. We can actually go near infinite on combats with Lightning Runner. And the nice part is that we actually have enough energy with Saheeli and the Runner. We can always be making a new copy of a Runner to, you know, keep attacking, right, and keep getting in for big damage. Loyal Apprentice makes us a Thopter each turn, and then One with the Machine draws us cards equal to the highest mana value among artifacts we control. So, interesting setup. I think it's the Ancestry turn 1. I remember we do have a bunch of creatures in our deck that are Artificers, so we could potentially get the Scry 1. Like here, it's just the Solar Transformer come in and get the 3 energy. Now, the interesting thing about One with the Machine is that remember that when Saheeli makes copies of things, Saheeli makes them as artifacts. Meaning that if we have a big thing that isn't an artifact, right, but it's the highest mana value of the things we have, we could make a copy of it with Saheeli and then play the One with the Machine to draw. But we draw an interesting artifact here in Stride Hanger Automaton. So it gives all our Thofters a little buff, and then it says whenever we would make 1 or more artifact tokens, we make those minis plus 1 more Thopter. So we're getting a Thopter basically every time Saheeli's ability goes off, which is great. So we are at 4. We could get Saheeli down. It could work because like next turn we could play the Stride Hanger and like the Loyal Apprentice or something. We did draw Pia Nalar, the alternate commander for the deck. So whenever 1 or more creatures deal damage to a player, we get 2 energy. In the beginning or end step, we can pay 1 or more energy. If we do, we make an XX vehicle with crew 2 where X is the amount of energy spent. What I like there is just if one of our artifact creatures hit, we get 2 energy. So if that thing that we're making a copy of hits, right, it gets energy. We'll do this because we get to scry off the path. I like Reality Shift. It's good removal, and I feel like we're missing that in our hand. So here on turn 4, again, we've got the energy from that to be able to do that with Saheeli. If we do Pia, we have a chance, right, to get some energy. If that copy can hit somebody who doesn't have anything in the way, we could potentially net 2 energy back from Pia. But I think the Stride Hanger just makes more sense, right? Net us some of those Thopters. I'm thinking it plus Loyal Apprentice. At the start of the turn, we make a Thopter. And because of Stride Hanger's ability, we would make another Thopter. Now, I don't believe that the Thopter from the Stride Hanger has haste, but that's okay. We'll go down on the energy to make a copy of Stride Hanger, which should net us another Thopter because of its ability, right? And then the Stride Hanger attacks, right, and hit somebody again. Now it's buffing all of our Thopters, so that Thopter that could attack this turn is a 3/3, right, which isn't bad at all. And we get rid of the Thopter, and now we're just going to try to get some energy back, right, for Saheeli's ability. But it's great because now we're starting our army of Thopters, right, on the ground and getting that party started. The runner could be fun to get a couple energy back this turn, and we have the Thopters as a threat. Maybe that's the choice here. That is not an Artificer, so it's not going to do that. But I just realized when I cast the Automaton, I would have gotten energy. So we should just be at 1 right now. So because it's start of combat for Saheeli's ability, like if I attack with the runner, it's not going to be able to give me the energy and then pay it into Saheeli. So that's okay. I think I still probably attack with this turn to net the energy. I get 2 Thopters, the one from Apprentice plus that. They all still have a buff, so we've got a few of them in the air, right, being able to attack this turn and become a real threat. We netted the energy with the runner. I think the runner's probably safe as a 2/2 with double strike, right, this early in the game, but that. And then we come back to our next turn, a couple turns without a mana's rough. We could try the one with the machine to draw, 3? Off the Automaton, we could try to get down Pia and Nilar. The nice part about Pia and Nilar right now would be because these are all artifact creatures, if all 3 of them can hit players, if we can hit 3 different players, we're netting 6 energy, which I feel like is beneficial. I think that's probably the play I go for this turn. I got 2 mana left. I could hold up something like the Reality Shift. But I'd go to combat. I think I would pay the 3 this turn. And I'd make a copy of the Stride Hanger, which nets me another Thopter. Attack. I mean, I can split these up in the air at, 2, 2, 2, or whatever. And I have a gut feeling all of them hit. Unless somebody's really has a ton of flyers enough to be able to block all those Thopters. There are 3/3 Thopters, right, because of the Stride Hangs. And then, sorry, we would have got the Loyal Apprentice one as well. But now, right, we're in great shape because we netted all that energy with Pia and Nilar for attacking. Now we've got lots of energy saved up, to continue to potentially maybe do the lightning runner, on a future turn. And I think we're in a great spot here. One with the machine could get us some more cards into our hand, try to dig for some more mana. But otherwise, I mean, we're netting a ton of energy each turn with Pia and Nilar. The only problem is we have to pay the mana for the runner on attack, right? So it can be a little bit awkward, but the point is, great board of Thopters. That's what this Automaton can do so well, especially with things like the Loyal Apprentice. And Saheeli, I really like this interaction. I think it kind of shows what it can do for us in a good scenario. But let's get into playtest number 3. Keep it a 2-lander with Arcane Signet and Commander Sphere. We've got a Bootlegger Stash, a way to turn our lands into treasure tokens, which ain't half bad. The Omni Tool buffs creature for every artifact we have, and then we have the Loyal Apprentice. So kind of working our way up. Not a bad way to get ourselves towards what we need. I think we just play the Arcane Signet here. This turn we see Saheeli. Saheeli could start making us our servo creature tokens. So here's one of the old Planeswalker versions of it. If I go land plus Commander Sphere, I can do the Omni Tool or the Artificer. My thought here is Loyal Apprentice, just to start making the Thopters, right? Get something going for us as we're trying to work our way right through getting the value down. So I could Saheeli this turn. I guess, or I could do Saheeli plus the tool, get another servo, get another Thopter, set the tool up for a future turn where it can buff a creature and then maybe go get us something. I think there's a lot of options here. I think we'll set up Saheeli, go to combat, make a Thopter with Loyal Apprentice, and work our way into the next turn. Well, there's Pia, right? Pia's actually not bad here, right? Because the Thopter's in the air, right? Again, having us have a chance to really net some nice mana there from the energy. I think I like the idea of Pinalar. It's either Saheeli or the Tool, but let's try the Tool, I guess. Make another Thopter with, sorry, the Tool would have gotten me an energy from Saheeli. But here is make a Thopter, attack everybody. I mean, if any of them hit, we get energy. Let's say 2 of them hit, you know, just for the purposes of this. Now, right, we're in great shape this turn with getting energy, right, and potentially using our energy to copy things. People Trailblazer is a really interesting one. Whenever it deals damage to a player, we get that much energy. And we could pay 6 energy to put counters on it and draw equal to the greatest power among creatures we control. So it's a draw outlet, which is nice. Remember, we can only exhaust once, but the nice part about making the copies with Saheeli is that we could then exhaust on everyone that we make a copy of. So we'd want it to hit, though, right? The truth is, at the end of the day, it's a 3/3 that would need to hit somebody to make some decent energy. The Basker is a fun option, although we're still 1 mana off of it to come in and just make energy for each creature we control. Like we could put the Omni Tool on Saheeli, start making it a threat. Maybe you do the Trailblazer and then attach the Omni Tool. It's getting 1, 2, 3, 4, +5/+5 right now. So it's a big threat. It's going to get 6 when we go to combat from that Thopter. But it says whenever it attacks, look at the top 6. You may reveal an artifact from among them, put it into your hand, and put the rest on the bottom. So we go to combat, make the Thopter. I think we pay 3 to make a copy of the Trailblazer and just try to attack. See if we can get some energy from it. But the truth is, I think we still have a good chance of getting 4 to 6 energy from Pia since all these Thopters are still in the air. We'll do this, look at the top 6, put an artifact from among them into your hand, Desync, Island, Thicket, Aetherkite, Harbor, and Amplifier and Player is the only technical artifact we can take. An interesting one at that. We could pay 4 to double the amount of energy we have. Not a bad cost. And we could, from the Pima, we could, before this goes away at the end of the turn, we could pay to draw a bunch of cards. The interesting thing here is that if Pia would have gotten us enough from all 3 to hit, I think I might consider, if we gotten 6 from all of them attacking, I think it's a no-brainer to try to draw. But if we don't, I think we need to save, right, some energy for next turn, right, when we try to do that again, right, do Saheeli again. But getting into the next turn, Crackling tapped. So we're at 7 mana now. The Amplifier is not a bad idea, right, to come in and double. I like the Basker. So when it comes in or attacks, you get an energy for each creature you control. So when it comes in, we're just netting 8 energy, right? Then we go to combat, and I think it makes absolutely no sense not to just make a copy of it, netting us now 11, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, right? So now we're up to 22 energy. Now we're just swimming in energy. Now we can pay that Trailblazer if we want to do that. But the Basker is always another interesting ability. It gets +1/+1 for each energy you pay into it. So, if nobody blocks it, we could just put a ton of energy into it to just hurt somebody, right? And since it has trample, right, it can hit pretty darn hard. We still have that Saheeli trigger getting us something off the top 6. Like the Stride Hanger, like the Lantern. I mean, they're both good choices. Lantern especially because it helps us round out our mana. But of course, Stride Hanger is great to get more of the Thopters. I think I'll just do the Stride Hanger. And now I think we're in great shape. This dies at the end of the turn. We've got a ton of mana. We could even pay 6 right now with the Trailblazer just to draw. So if we had buffed the Basker at all, we could have just drawn a ton of cards. But let's say we do this exhaust. We go down to 16. We put 2 counters on it. And we draw 7. Maybe we pitch a couple cards we don't need. Look, we drew Aetherworks Marvel, a great way to spend our energy to potentially cast something for free. We got Panharmonicon, which doubles up things that come in. Basker trigger, right? When it comes in and getting double the energy, this can double our energy. And I think we're just in great shape. Unless somebody wipes their board, right? We're just in great shape. But let me know, what do you think of my $50 upgrade to the Saheeli Precon? I think this one's interesting. It's a fun deck, and there's a lot of options for things you can copy. I think that's where your flavor of this deck is going to come out. What do you want to copy? What What do you want to do with it? But let me know what you think, and check out my full brew for Saheeli coming later this week on the channel. And I will catch y'all next time.